What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Rickey Report. Make sure to use the code RickeyBlog at lastdivebar.com for 10% off your order. Use my affiliate link down below. Let's get to it. All right, so everybody's talking about Sacramento these days in the A's Twitter sphere. Just yesterday on Wednesday, we had an interview with Carmichael Dave, the longtime Sacramento radio host. Make sure to go check out that podcast. And literally, literally a minute before we sent out our tweet, the San Francisco Chronicle shared their tweet of this article by John Shea of the San Francisco Chronicle, who wrote a really informative piece about kind of laying out the scheduling challenges that MLB has next year in 2025 with the A's playing at Sacramento and sharing that ballpark with the Sacramento River Cats, who of course are a AAA team in the Pacific Coast League. So between the two teams, the A's are going to play 81 games and the River Cats are going to play 75 games at home. So that's 156 games. And as we noted before, that means they're going to be playing on synthetic turf. And, maybe temperatures, over 105, 110. Add another 20, 30 degrees with the synthetic turf. It's not going to be too nice out there for these big league millionaires who thought they made it. But so MLB schedule makers, they used to, try to keep the A's and the Giants in town at different times. Like if the A's were on the road, the Giants would be at home and vice versa. But now they really have to do that because the A's and the River Cats can be sharing this facility. And the challenge with this is that the A's are pretty much going to be locked in to like Monday through Sunday kind of timetables because the PCL, the AAA schedule, how it is right now is teams go on, they play either a 6-game homestand or a 6-game road trip from Tuesday through Sunday, and then Monday is an off day. So, in MLB, there's, Wednesdays and Thursdays, teams are coming and going because there's 3-game series, but as you can see here, the River Cats just have, 6 games, then an off day, 6 games, and an off day. So it's all very controlled. So the biggest issue is obviously the heat and the artificial turf. And Shea spoke to an MLB Players Association union rep who said the Players Association is currently discussing a wide range of issues with the league, including playing surface conditions and game times, with the intention of scheduling as many games as possible at night. Our priority is to ensure that players' health, safety, and other rights are prioritized. Yeah, everybody's just talking about this heat. There's a heat wave going on right now in Sacramento. And, there's artificial turf at I think 5 or 6 other stadiums, but they all have a roof on top of it. So this is going to be a whole different beast that MLB hasn't done with before. And, like I said, we interviewed Carmichael Dave about this, and this is what he had to say about players playing in the heat.
The problem is, this is in play, guys. We may actually see the first Major League Baseball player spontaneously combust on a field at this point next year. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, although entertaining, not cool. They probably have a family. Nobody wants to see death when they go to a baseball game. And look, I'm looking at the temperature right now for Sacramento for just this week alone. Today it's 108, 112 Thursday, 111 Friday, 103 Saturday. We were in the 110s and above, I think 5 out of 7 days last year, and that's fairly normal.
So obviously, Dave is joking, but it's going to be a big issue here, So, and it sounds like Sundays are, no matter what, the A's are going to have to host Sunday day games because there's a stipulation that says all West Coast games have to start by 1:15 p.m. on Sunday, so there's no overlap with Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. So perhaps there won't be any midweek getaway days for the A's. It seems like they'll probably be locked into, 6-game homestands or 12-game homestands. But there will be midweek getaway days for opposing teams. As Shea wrote, according to the so-called 230 rule, so it's kind of complicated here, but the meat of it is at the last sentence where he says, in the case of the A's, for consistency's sake, weekday day games are expected to begin at 12:35 p.m. Because of this 2-hour and 30-minute rule that he outlined, and basically, so if you have to travel more than 2.5 hours in a plane, you gotta have a day game the day before. You can't be playing a night game. and then, you know, show up at the ballpark late or whatever. So it's in the CBA, so this has to happen. And for example, if the A's begin a series on a Monday, that means, you know, by Wednesday or Thursday, if it's a 3 or 4 game series, that last game will have to be a day game probably. But they're not all the cases. I mean, there's 7. So I looked. There's 7 different cities where opposing teams can get to from Sacramento in less than 2.5 hours, whether by driving or in most cases flying. But these are the 7 cities. It's San Francisco, obviously, and then Seattle, Los Angeles, Anaheim, San Diego, Arizona, and Denver. So like the Rockies. So basically, all the West Coast teams, visiting teams could get out of there. So basically, all this to say, like for the opposing teams, say they play the A's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If their next series is against any of these West Coast teams, they'll be able to play night games on those midweek day games. But say the opposing team, their next game is at Baltimore or New York. You know, that midweek game is going to have to be a day game unless there's a travel day built in afterwards. So a whole bunch of different things here to work out with, but it's all about night games in Sacramento. So, I think people like to point out, the River Cats play up there right now. They're not melting on the surface, but again, that's natural grass. And, this is supposed to be the big leagues. You're supposed to have, like, the top-notch facilities. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Like, these players are, they shouldn't have to worry about this stuff. But I'm sure, it's going to be a whole different ballgame out there with the turf and the heat, something that they've never done before. And, I'm sure it's going to be some sort of some health issues or concerns that they're worried about, And it is interesting that Shea reported. I would go with Shea, obviously. He's super tapped in and been doing this forever. But he reported that the A's will play all 81 home games in West Sacramento. And just last week, the Nevada Independent put out an article with Las Vegas Aviators president Don Logan. And he was saying that, here's the quote he said, he suggested the A's might play a few regular season games in Las Vegas during the next 3 years while the team temporarily relocates to Sacramento as the stadium is being built. But it sounds like those plans are being tabled and the A's will just go all in on Sacramento, which is interesting. It doesn't sound like they're going to make any inroads or try to make any inroads with their future fans in Las Vegas that are supposedly waiting for them in 2028. So, in the end of all this, I think the players are the ones kind of getting screwed. They worked really hard to get to the big leagues, and then especially at home A's players, they're going to be playing back at a AAA facility, just not have all the resources that they should have, and just don't have that big league feel, man. You're just going to go back in time, and it's just going to be so bizarre seeing like Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge just be playing games in there. It's like, I guess they do it in spring training, and I honestly think for the Sacramento fans it'll be a cooler experience than most big league teams. I mean, literally every seat's super intimate, and I don't know where else. I don't think anywhere else in the bigs you can sit on the grass and watch a big league ball game. So for the players, I think they're really kind of getting screwed over by this deal here, but. I think if John Fisher has less overhead costs, he doesn't care. He's just going to make it happen. So that's really ultimately what this comes down to, And then on Thursday morning, Dave sent out this tweet, too, to talk about the agreement between the A's and the Kings. So he says the A's/Kings or the River Cats will operate on both revenue and expense sharing agreements. So the A's are, in fact, paying and contributing to costs for the upcoming seasons. I have to get clarity on the split, but shared. So, in fact, there will be a rent charge, for lack of a better phrase, as a percentage of revenues between the two. And it's going to be different, too, if, when the A's get up there next year, because Vince Cotroneo won't be on the radio broadcast. He announced, got to give him a shout-out, he announced on Wednesday that this will be his final season calling A's games, and he won't be following them up to Sacramento. Just got to say thanks a lot to Vince for everything over the years. He's always been super nice to me. He wrote a really long, heartfelt message, thanking everybody and everything. And personally, I've known Vince for over 10 years now, probably. I knew his son, Dom, before he went to college. He went to Arizona State. We both went to Arizona State. And now Dom, of course, is doing the pre- and post-game show for the Brewers. A couple years ago, they got to call some spring training games together, so that was pretty cool. Vince has been here since 2006. He came in after Bill King left, RIP, before the 2006 season, so he's been here for 18-plus years. And, of course, I was raised listening to Bill King, and Ken Korak is who I remember, and then I was in college when Vince took over, so basically the last 20 years I've been listening to Ken and Vince, and it's not going to be the same without them. It's like another piece of this A's tradition is also dying this year, which is really sad. And last year I talked to Vince about what it was like, what it's like to be such part of such a historic A's radio fraternity. Yeah, and you mentioned fraternity. I always thought like the A's radio fraternity is pretty amazing. Like over the decades, Monty Moore, Lon Simmons, Bill King, Ray Fosse, Ken Korak, and you. I mean, what's it like to be part of that group? So many greats over generations.
Well, it's humbling, obviously. Yeah. I love Monty to death. I wish I saw more of him. I wish I could see more of him at the ballpark. Still has tremendous energy and tremendous love for the Astros or for the A's, right. And all the people that you mentioned along the way. It is a booth that that has a lot of history and thankful, because listening to games from the A's perspective, much like the clubhouse, it's different. You're not going to hear this kind of broadcast in Chicago or St. Louis or Atlanta. Or even Baltimore. It's a unique vibe that we're able to use from the clubhouse and use from the history that's inside that booth and bring that out.
Happy trails to Vince after this year. Hope he really enjoys these next couple months. We're coming up on the All-Star break next week, which is crazy. But yeah, he's been working in pro baseball for 41 years, 32 years in the bigs. And he said he'd be open to working next year, but if this is the end of the road, this is the end of the road. And I don't blame him. He's been in the industry for this long. He doesn't want to go, you're used to the big league facilities, and all of a sudden you're going to have to drive, 90 minutes up there to the road, back and forth each day to work in like a tiny minor league press box. And I'm sure there's not going to be AC and all that stuff. And if you've done it for this long, you get used to a certain standard. I'm sure it wouldn't be fun to do that 81 games a year and then have to go travel on top of that to the road games, for me also, I think we should keep an eye on what's going to happen with Ken Korak. I saw a lot of fans kind of speculating about that as well. Of course, Ken has been here since 1996 and, really special part of the A's, broadcast and lore and everything as well. And Ken, of course, he hasn't been going on road trips the past couple of years. I saw him earlier this year. He still looks good and everything. He's calling games at home and everything, but he's not calling games on the road. So, I grew up listening to Bill King and, Ray Fosse and Ken Korak and Vince Cotroneo. And, Vince and Ken really carried us the past 20 years. So I'm really going to try to savor all these broadcasts. Usually on MLB TV, I listen on the radio broadcast anyways. I've been doing that for the past, since I started this blog, really 3 or 4 years. So it's really not going to be the same without them. So really enjoy these last... it's the finality of it is really kind of starting to sink in. There's only 5 home games or 5 homestands left in Oakland history, and 35 home games left, and that's it. So next week is the All-Star break. I don't know. Seeing this message is kind of like bringing. It's really like I'm still been kind of tunnel vision on just what's been going on. But yeah, the finality of this is coming in. I don't think it's really going to hit me honestly till next year when I see them. Open up their first home game in Sacramento or whatever next year. I think that's really going to be the hitting. That's really when it's going to hit. But 5 homestands left and 35 home games. Vince is on his way out, so it's really, really, really the end of an era, folks. Like we already knew that, but yeah, this is what happens. So. On to some more news from Tuesday. A legend was born at Fenway Park on Tuesday night as the A's opened up their 3-game set against the Red Sox, and an A's fan named Alex was directly behind home plate with a Cell shirt and doing some hilarious shenanigans throughout the game. You can kind of see it building. At one point he came down with like a beer and I don't know. He was like talking to people throughout the whole game. It was funny. I was honestly watching him like more than the game because at one point I think it was like 11-2. The A's were getting absolutely worked. But this guy was providing some entertainment and it got really funny. And at the end of the game, at one point he thought about busting out a Cell flag, but then the security guard told him no. And afterwards, Alex explained what happened on Twitter. He tweeted that the security guard insinuated that once he left free game, guess he was watching like a hawk. I couldn't even unravel it fully before he came back down to shut it down. Good dude, Cell the MF team. So I guess this dude's a Bay Area guy, and he's going to all 3 games. So shout out to Alex. This game was a fun and interesting game. It was 12-9. Actually, the A's made it interesting. Zach Geloff and Lawrence Butler hit some absolute tanks. Butler hit one 457 feet, longest A's home run of the season, but they lost 12-9. And then afterwards, Alex actually got a beer from Todd Sarin of the Oakland 68, so that's awesome. Shout out to Alex. And Todd, of course, was the guy who did the puppets behind Diamond Level last week when the A's were playing. So the A's just can't erase this cell imagery out of their games because fans are sitting right behind home plate. I think it's pretty funny. And and we got some new Ballers news on Thursday morning as well. They have announced that they will be hosting a community investment round, and they sent out a tweet a few hours later that they already got more than 800 inquiries, within the first few hours of this thing. So there's definitely a lot of interest. And here's a video, a part of a video from the Bees that they sent out, kind of explaining what they're doing.
The Oakland Ballers. We created the Oakland Ballers to put forward a new model. Our vision is to give fan owners a real seat at the table. Checks and balances around moving the team, around changing the team's logos and brand marks. Plus, your seat at the table has the potential for financial upside. The Ballers play in the 10th largest media market in the country, and soon will be the only game in town.
So new Bees owners will have the chance to help decide where the team is based, talk about changes to the logos and brand marks, and also have some input on front office hiring decisions. So right now, I think they're kind of in the exploratory phase. If you go to invest.oaklandballers.com, you can fill out this brief questionnaire with your name and your email and how much you'd be willing to invest or what you think you'd want to invest. And you'll be added to a waiting list. So that's what happens if you do this. And, the Roots were really successful. The Oakland Roots, the Oakland-based soccer team was really successful when they did this last year. They did a community investment round as well. They raised over about $3.2 million from more than 5,400 people, including 4,000 California residents and 1,400 residents from Oakland. And so the Bees also, like maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago, they announced that they raised their initial investment round was about $2 million from 53 investors. And they sent out a deck earlier that they were trying to raise around $2 million at a $6 million valuation. So I believe that's where they're at right now in the market, about a $6 million valuation. And we'll see how this impacts it. So yeah, they're on to phase 2 of their investment. And now you can get a shot to be a part owner of the Bees. So I think it's pretty cool. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised they got a lot of money from local fans who want to make this thing happen. We've seen the Haas family join in, be super supportive. So, Billy Joel Armstrong was just there a few days ago. I think it was on Sunday. He was at the game. So yeah, get a piece of the Bees, folks, and check it out. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about the Oakland mayor situation. Got something out of left field. It's Bip Roberts, the former Oakland A's player, current pre- and post-game host on NBC Sports California. He's putting out some feelers out there to see if he's saying he's thinking about putting his name in the ring to be a mayor now that Sheng Tao is, facing this recall in November. So for now, Sheng Tao is still the mayor of Oakland, despite this recent FBI raid that is reportedly tied to drug and human trafficking rings, something like that. For now, she's still plowing forward. And but here's the clip from A's fan Casey Witt, who shared this on Twitter, of Bip talking to Brody Brazil about his possible candidacy.
Brody, I'm born and raised in Oakland, California, and I see everything that's going on in the city. I'm a part of that city. And right now I hear that there's a recall that's happening where the mayor may be recalled. I'm going to have to pray on this, but I have people in my ear saying that I should run for mayor. So we'll have to wait and see.
Are you saying that this has been suggested to you?
It has.
Or you might go through with this?
It has been suggested to me.
You're thinking about it?
And I'm thinking about it. Right?
This is not a bit. This is not a thing.
This is real.
Cam Ray?
This is real.
I think I need to say it right to Cam Ray.
This is real. An Oakland boy understanding what's going on in Oakland that can help make change because I understand the problem very well. And I can make that change for you guys.
So you would be interested in this process?
I would be very interested. Instead, I have to pray on it.
It reminds me a lot of Sacramento. Once had Kevin Johnson, former NBA player and Cal product, as their mayor. It's not uncommon. You don't have a lot of political background per se.
Nah, I'm just me.
I didn't know that was coming.
I'm just me.
I'm actually trying to be a journalist, Brazil, because you're serious.
I'm serious.
And I didn't know that was coming.
Yeah.
I didn't expect we'd end our show that way.
Hey, you said anything else?
Stay tuned for Leon Roberts and his political endeavors.
So my first thought of this is, who the hell wants this job right now? I mean, mayor of Oakland sounds like a really tough, impossible job, especially some dude with little, I don't think he has any political background whatsoever, like, you know, Brody's talked about at the end there. He said he's going to pray on it, but I really don't take this seriously, and I really don't think he should too. I don't think he knows what he's getting into. I don't know if he's seen social media and what Sheng Tao faces every day. It's pretty nasty out there. I don't know who the right person is. I really don't. But I don't want it to be somebody who just thinks they're qualified just because they're from the city of Oakland and they might have a little bit of celebrity here, you know. So, Oakland has a lot of serious issues and budget crisis to figure out, and I don't know if I trust Bip Roberts to be the guy to navigate Oakland through that, you know. So I'll believe it when I see it, but I honestly think he's just kind of putting some feelers out there to see what the reaction would be. But I would say, Bip, don't do it. And if you do, it's probably not going to work out well. Probably just be a waste of money. So, waste of money and time. That's my thought, but what do I know? I know some fans are trying to say, oh, maybe this will help the A's come back to Oakland. I really don't think, I really think that ship has sailed. So we'll see what happens. But right now, I just think it's really not much to write home about. So that's it for the Rickey Report. Thanks a lot for listening. Check out Last Dive Bar. Use my promo code RickeyBlog at Last Dive Bar. Use my affiliate link down below. And yeah, this weekend the Oakland 68s will be in Philly, the original home of the A's franchise. So that'll be pretty cool. All right, we'll be back next week. I'll be out of town this weekend, but hope you guys have a great weekend. All right.